Right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on Beyond this hour. The Taliban's Minister for Refugees, Khalil Haqqani, has been killed in a suicide attack in Kabul. And according to sources, the attacker came as a refugee looking for his papers into his office. When Khalil Haqqani came to the ministry after lunch and was passing through the corridor, the suicide bomber then triggered the blast. Now, Khalil Haqqani is the brother of Jalaluddin Haqqani, the founder of the Haqqani network. He's also the uncle of Sirajuddin Haqqani, the Taliban Minister for Interior Affairs. The violence, remember, has waned in Afghanistan since the Taliban forces took charge of the country in 2021, ending their war against the US-led NATO invading forces. However, the regional chapter of the Islamic State that is known as the Islamic State Khorasan is still very much active in Afghanistan and has regularly targeted the civilians, foreigners and also Taliban officials in gun and bomb attacks. And if sources are to be believed, the attack is suspected to be the handiwork of the ISIS Khorasan. Now, to give us more updates in terms of what, of course, is happening at this moment in Afghanistan, we are joined by WION's Anas Malik, who's joining us live on this broadcast. Anas, this is a pretty big blow to the Taliban government, considering the fact that one of the cabinet ministers there was targeted by this suicide bomber. At this moment, what more do we know about the motive of this attack and who's carried it out?
Well, indeed, it is a very big blow to the Taliban. It won't be wrong to say, because Khalil Ahmad Haqqani, the uncle of incumbent Interior Minister Siraj Haqqani, the brother of Jalaluddin Haqqani, who was the founder of the Haqqani network, he has indeed been assassinated, not anywhere else, but inside his very own ministry, in the mosque of his very own ministry. That raises alarm bells. Khalil Haqqani was offering prayers, and after the prayers, while he was leaving for lunch, inside his ministry's mosque is when this bomber has reportedly detonated himself. What we know so far is that the casualty figure has not been confirmed on the part of the Taliban, but officials in Afghanistan, including the Afghan interim government officials on background, have indeed confirmed the assassination of Khalil Ahmad Haqqani. What we also know is that Khalil Haqqani, just a background on the person, he was the person who was in charge of Kabul's security following the takeover of the Taliban. For about 22 days, he was all in all in Kabul. It won't be wrong to say we were there, we witnessed this very closely, up until the formation of the interim Afghan government. That was on the 7th of November. So from the 15th of August 2021 up until the 7th of September 2021 is when Khalil Ahmad Haqqani was the one calling the shots when it came to security inside the capital city of Kabul. He was a Shura member, he was a Taliban Shura member or a Taliban a council member that is there. Then addition, he was also on the UNSC or United Nations sanctions list as well. The US State Department had a $5 million bounty on him, right. And above all, he had following the Taliban takeover, he was given the portfolio of the Minister for Refugees. Saleh? Indeed,
and also in Afghanistan, despite the fact that the Americans have now withdrawn their forces, the ISIS Khorasan, the offshoot of the ISIS, is still very much active and is in a turf war with the Taliban. Now, over the course of the last couple of years, we've seen fewer attacks from ISIS Khorasan. But why is it at this moment the Taliban has not been able to completely root out the cadre of the ISIS Khorasan network in Afghanistan?
Well, I think there are multiple factors to that. First and foremost is the rising inflation levels in Afghanistan, where around 90% or over 90% population cannot even afford 2 meals a day. I think it's the money factor that comes in. Secondly, the lack of control within Afghanistan. Of course, after the takeover, it was a different story on the entire 34 provinces. Now it is a different story altogether. The Afghan Taliban allege that some regional countries have indeed been supporting the IS without putting forward a shred of evidence. But that is something eerily similar to what we had heard during the Ghani regime time or the Republic time itself. What is also pertinent to mention the fact is that they can't really hide behind hoodwinking or alleging. ISK has been active. In fact, they attacked on the 8th of October 2021, they attacked the mourning procession of Zabiullah Mujahid, who's now the information minister, the spokesperson of the Taliban. So ISK has been active. They have not been able to root out terrorism, and that remains a bigger headache for the interim Afghan government to deal with going forward. Saleh?
Indeed. Thank you very much, indeed, Anas Malik, for joining us and getting us all those updates then. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.